Welcome back everyone to another episode on Ang's channel. Today we'll be talking about daily expenses. So daily expenses, right now I'm still, you can consider me as unemployed because I'm now still a student. I'm going on for my internship during the April of 2026. So this actually strikes me again because of the expenses that I need in order for me to survive per month, and then it actually reflects the value of how many emergency fund that I need in order for me to survive if seriously I have been unemployed for some times, or I cannot find a job, and so on. So daily expenses right now, because since I'm still a student, I didn't actually pay full of all the expenses that is occur or related to me. So that includes my insurance, my car insurance, my health insurance, as well as my car installment. So all those are still covered by my parents, and I'm grateful and blessed with that. We'll be going into how I manage my daily expenses right now, and also my future potential needs, as well as future planning on how I would be able to cover as well as to manage my expenses. Right now, in this case, because I'm currently staying outside of the university, and then the hostel of the university itself actually raised, and then I was blessed and I was grateful that I actually moved out from there with the opportunity to live in a master room with indoor toilets, which is we don't share our toilets with other roommates. So basically this room cost me around 650 ringgits, and it includes utilities including the water bills, the electricity, as well as the Wi-Fi. So basically I can just be free, carefree to use all the electric gadgets, and but still I am actually a person whereby I don't actually open air cons all day because it will still be cold and it will be very uncomfortable. So to begin, the daily expenses topic is that uh, given my monthly allowance is actually 2000. Well, it actually depends because um, the idea of me right now is that I try not to think that my expenses right now is 2000. So basically, based on this 2000, I will be allocating into 80% as well as the 20%. So this makes 20% is going to be 400 ringgits, and the 80% is going to be the 1600. Is that correct? So basically, the left portion, which is the 80%, is most likely going to my everyday expenses. And for my 400, this usually goes to my savings or maybe like entertainment and so on. So usually this kind of for my expenses on the 1600. So first of all, my rental actually takes up like RM 650 as I mentioned. But then I don't regret actually for paying this premium for such a big room, as well as free utilities and Wi-Fi. And so this just a small topic on why the reason why I move out is due to the fact that living outside is actually considered cheaper due to the fact you will be able to cook. So cooking allows me to have greater margin or greater ability to save more on food, and also allows me to eat more better. So at school, right, average meal is around 10 to 15 ringgits. And for their food, most of them, they are not they don't taste good. Plus the nutrition, the portion is does not make any sense. It does not consider a lot of vegetables, so it's not, I mean it's good, it's enough to supply nutrition and so on, but it's just that I can do better by buying my own food, by buying my own raw materials, and I cook with it. So basically, back in the days of staying in hostel, right? Well, consider that the rentals of the hostel actually increased. Right now at school, it actually cost me around 430. Plus, the utilities of the school right now is actually quite expensive. As they mentioned. So let's assume it's actually around 30. So you have like 30 days per day. So this results in around RM 900s. So here is already consider it as RM 460. So compared to right now, my rental is RM is 650. So it is this one is around 200 cheaper. But then on the food, averagely every week I spend around 150 every week per week for my food. But then additional thing is that I spend my time to cook, but I actually quite enjoying it, and it now has become one of my hobby. And yeah, cooking is just a nice way for me to, a nice reason for me to stay away from my laptop and then just go walk around and then stand and then do cookings and so on. And also I eat better and in terms of healthier food. In terms of 4 weeks, it's around 600. So this exclude some potential outings, but then overall, if you can see, is that over here we actually save 300s. So you can actually consider this as a fair trade-off. It does not differ much. It does not differ much, but it's just the way of living. So I'm actually paying a slightly higher premium or eventually similar price to actually experience better life. So what I changed is that I changed from having to stay in a small room or shed with a roommate into a single room. So I changed into a single room, which I have more better privacy as well as own me time and better living quality and so on. And also have parking issues. So at school right now, because I do understand the number of students that enroll into this university has increased. So the situation now at the hostel is that it's very hard for you to find parking despite they already increased the amount of parking by half of the original, but then it's still full. You probably need to find parking, for example, like 15 minutes, or you have to park far away from your hostel and then you have to walk and then wait for the lift to go upstairs. So the place I'm staying right now does not require that because it's landed. So basically I have my own parking, and despite the how in-house parking is full, I can just park at the roadside, which is also just few walks away, which is very convenient. And second of all, it's going to be food. So I'll be able to cook my own food instead of just eating outside, whereby you get bored easily, and then usually just KFC, McDonald's, Domino's, schools, which can be very oily sometimes, and the environment of the canteen is just does not comfortable. It makes me sick. So rather than just saying it, I actually save costs. But then the most important thing here is to actually increase my quality of living with similar expenses, whereby I will be able to provide more time as well as more better lifestyles in my uni life. So basically that's the part. And then for the food, consider that as I mentioned, 150 per week. So that is going to be 600 for the month. So over here, this already eats up 1,250. So basically for normal needs, instead of staying and eating, it actually costs up to 1,250. But then if you consider the other part, for example, outings and so on, well, over here you still have another 350 left, right? Well, consider that I actually, uh, if I don't go out that often, usually it's around 100 ringgits of the gas pumping fees. So that leaves us to another 250. And usually this 250 is the amount that we go for outings, that I eat with my friends, eating outside, going outside and so on. So this is more towards the fee that is used to go outside. So you can actually imagine that the price here that you pay for your living is actually quite expensive due to the fact just by staying and eating, and this is like sort of like minimum amount already. You already eat up to like 1,250. So do consider that yes, you may save up maybe like 200s if you stay at school, but the fact is that it actually spend more eating outside. So the extra 200 does not just cover up, as we mentioned that the potential average price per day is around 30 ringgits. So it's still more expensive, but overall it's similar or somewhat the same. Does not differ much. So the other 400 ringgits is for saving, but most of the case, I would actually save maybe like 200. Is like a guarantee. Sometimes better is 300 because of certain amount of outings, whereby it can cost a lot more. So the idea here is that is 2,000 enough for me? Yes, for now, but in the future when things starts to get expensive and so on, I might not be able to survive with just this amount. But of course, this is a very reasonable amount for university students and so on. And if you were to consider that I really have to pay my own thing, does 2,000 actually enough? Not really, especially when you have a car. And this includes you have your insurance and you have your installments. And basically this here just eats up already like 100 per month. And this one is like 700 per month. So this is another extra 800 plus that is required you to be in your monthly expenses. So another stuff is going to be your other insurance. For example, your healthcare, your life insurance, and so on. These easily sum up to like 300s and so on. So this added back, which is going to be another amount. And do consider that 650 ringgits to stay a place is considered okay already. But for most prime place or for most working place, uh, it usually costs up to like 700 or 800, but we're just going to fix to that. So basically over here, you already add up to another 1,100, adding up to like 3,000 and so on. So most of the time, minimum wages right now is 1,700, but most likely if you have a degree and so on, you'll be able to get around like RM 300, 300, 3,500, whereby still it will be able to cover. But mainly here is that you won't be able to have lifestyle. But I mean, if you are a fresh grad starting to work in the society right now, having lifestyle is just another topic already. Whereby if you have your side gigs, you have your side hustle incomes, then from there you'll be able to cover. But from just main work, 3,500, it's not also guaranteed. Some because some of often they provide like 2,008 and so on, which if you consider all the expenses just does not make any sense. It does not cover up and so on. So basically that is my idea and also my current situation of my expenses, as well as my view on the future amount that I really need if I really were to cover up all my expenses that I need. Well, there are still many hidden fees, some of the insurance and so on, which somewhat maybe sometimes in some other fees, for example, emergency situation. That is why you have emergency fund. But then as time pass, your expenses increases, your income increases, your emergency fund will also increases. So this is just my idea on the future potential expenses that I need. And also it just kind of like stressed me out because due to the fact you do have to consider that if your working salary is not high enough, you barely meets and meets, but still you'll be able to survive quite well and just at the same time just increase your skills and increase your salary. So I think basically that is all for today's video on the view of my daily expenses and the reason why I actually move out and the reasoning of upgrading my lifestyle without actually spending or overspend too much or actually in a similar price, and also the idea of future potential expenses, not just only for me but also potentially for most other people, because you do have your cars, your insurance that you need to pay, and that's easily another 500 perhaps if you just covered up minimum. So I guess that's all for today's video. This changes over time. Maybe I will review it back for my current situation and so on, but who knows. Yeah, before that, let us expect forwards and then to see how it actually went. So I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.